For 25 years, I had been Daniel's wife. Not just his wife, but his silent supporter, his constant presence, the woman who made sure his world ran smoothly while he built his empire. I was the one who ironed his shirts just the way he liked, who made sure his coffee was brewed strong at exactly 6:30 in the morning, and who greeted him every evening with a soft smile, despite knowing he'd barely glance up from his phone before disappearing into his office. I told myself this was normal. That marriage, after so many years, settled into a quiet rhythm, predictable and steady. Love was not supposed to be fireworks forever. Passion was not meant to burn endlessly. That was what I had convinced myself. And yet, somewhere along the way, I had stopped being a person in Daniel's life, and had become part of the furniture. I existed in the background, always there, always steady, always waiting. Waiting for what exactly? Maybe for Daniel to see me again. But that night at the gala, the night Ethan Lockwood took my hand and led me onto the dance floor, was the night everything changed. Because in his gaze, I realized something terrifying, something exhilarating. I was not invisible to everyone. It started like any other corporate event. The annual gala was always held at the same elegant ballroom in the city, with crystal chandeliers and deep red carpets, waiters gliding effortlessly between guests with trays of champagne. Daniel, as always, had been caught up in conversation from the moment we walked in, the CEO of his firm, the CFO, a handful of investors, all the people who mattered to him more than I did. I was not bitter. Not exactly. I had played this role for decades, the polished, smiling wife of a successful man. I knew exactly what was expected of me, small talk with the other spouses, nodding politely as they bragged about their latest vacations, their children's prestigious universities, their summer homes in the Hamptons. I was good at it, even if it bored me. But that night, for the first time, I felt suffocated. I needed air. I slipped away from the table, stepping onto the balcony overlooking the city skyline. The air was crisp and cool against my flushed skin. I closed my eyes, inhaling deeply, trying to push away the restless ache building inside me. And then I was not alone anymore. Tired of playing the perfect wife. I opened my eyes, startled. Ethan stood a few feet away, leaning casually against the railing, a glass of whiskey in hand. The city lights cast sharp angles over his features, a strong jaw, a touch of silver at his temples, piercing blue eyes that always seemed to be assessing everything around him. I let out a soft laugh, turning toward him. Is it that obvious? Ethan smiled, a slow, knowing expression. Only because I know the feeling. I tilted my head, intrigued. Ethan was Daniel's business partner, the other half of the empire my husband had built. They had been working together for over a decade, and while I had always found Ethan charming, I had never really seen him as anything more than Daniel's closest colleague. But standing there, away from the noise and expectation of the gala, he felt different. More real. More present. Are you saying you hate these events too? I teased, taking a sip of champagne. Oh, I don't hate them, he admitted. But I do find them exhausting, the endless networking, the fake smiles, and watching people pretend their marriages are perfect when half of them barely speak outside of these things. Something about the way he said it, the sharp edge to his voice, the way his gaze lingered on mine just a second too long, made my stomach tighten. Was he talking about Daniel and me? I glanced back toward the ballroom. Through the glass doors, I could see Daniel at our table, laughing easily with one of the investors, his hand gesturing animatedly as he spoke. He had not even noticed I was gone. I take it you don't believe in perfect marriages? I asked, turning back to Ethan. His expression darkened slightly. I believe in marriage. I just think people get too comfortable. They stop seeing each other. They stop trying. Something inside me clenched. They stop seeing each other. I swallowed, my throat suddenly tight. That's a cynical way to look at it. Ethan studied me for a long moment, then said, it's only cynical if it's not true. For the first time in a long while, I didn't have a response. The music from inside shifted, the band starting a slow, sultry melody, a love song, deep and aching. Ethan set his glass down on the balcony ledge and straightened. "Dance with me." I blinked, startled. "What?" "Dance with me," he repeated, stepping closer. "Just one dance." I hesitated, glancing around. "Ethan, people will see," he finished for me, a teasing lilt to his voice. "So what? It's just a dance, Sophia." And maybe it was the champagne, or the cool night air, or the restless longing that had been building inside me for far too long. But I didn't say no. I let him take my hand. I let him lead me back inside, onto the dance floor. And as he pulled me close, his hand warm against the small of my back, his breath just barely grazing my cheek, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not just attraction. Not just the thrill of something forbidden. I felt seen. And that was far more dangerous than anything else. Ethan's hand was firm but gentle as he led me to the dance floor. The room was filled with couples swaying to the slow rhythm of the music, but in that moment, it felt like we were the only two people in the room. I should have hesitated. I should have thought about Daniel. I should have reminded myself that this was just a dance, that it meant nothing. But it did. The moment Ethan pulled me close, a warmth spread through me. His palm rested lightly against my lower back, guiding me with effortless confidence. My left hand rested in his fingers strong and steady. I could feel the heat of his body just inches from mine, his scent a mix of smooth cologne and whiskey. "You are tense, Sophia," he murmured close to my ear. I let out a soft breath, forcing a small laugh. Maybe because I have never danced like this with anyone but my husband. Ethan tilted his head slightly, his gaze searching mine. "Then that is a shame." A slow shiver ran down my spine. We moved in perfect synchrony, his touch never crossing any inappropriate line, and yet, I felt something I had not felt in years. Awareness. A deep, aching awareness of myself as a woman. Daniel and I had not danced in years. At our wedding, we had swayed in each other's arms, laughing, whispering. We used to dance in the kitchen, his hands slipping around my waist as music played from the radio. But over time, the dances stopped. Now here I was, in the arms of another man, feeling something I had convinced myself no longer existed. "I should not be doing this," I whispered, though I made no move to step away. "It is just a dance, Sophia," Ethan said, his voice low and even. "No one will think twice." But we both knew that was not true. His hand slid slightly along my back, his fingers pressing just enough to send another wave of heat through me. My breathing was shallow now, my heart pounding a little harder than it should have been. When was the last time someone looked at me this way? Ethan studied me carefully, as if he could hear my thoughts. His lips parted, as if he wanted to say something, but then he simply gave me a small, knowing smile. He saw me. He truly saw me. The song was ending, and with it, the moment we had both silently agreed to live inside. As the last note played, he loosened his hold, but he did not step away. His thumb brushed over the back of my hand before releasing it. I felt a strange sense of loss the moment he let go. "Thank you for the dance," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Anytime," he replied. Before I could say anything else, Daniel appeared beside me, smiling as if nothing in the world had shifted. "There you are," he said, slipping his arm around my waist. "I did not even realize you left the table." His words landed like a quiet ache in my chest. Of course he had not noticed. Ethan's expression did not change, but there was something in his eyes, something unreadable as he took a step back. "I will see you both inside." He walked away, blending back into the crowd. I watched him go, my pulse still uneven. Daniel pressed a quick kiss to my temple. "Having fun?" I smiled, or at least, I tried to. Of course. I should have ended it there. I should have let that dance be nothing more than a fleeting moment. But as the night went on, I kept catching glimpses of Ethan across the room. And every time, I felt that same quiet thrill. I thought it was over. But then, later that night, when I stepped onto the balcony for air, Ethan followed. And everything changed. The cool night air brushed against my skin as I stepped onto the balcony, the muffled hum of laughter and conversation from inside the ballroom faded, leaving only the distant sounds of the city below. I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to settle the storm of emotions swirling inside me. The dance should not have mattered, it should have been nothing, but I could still feel the warmth of Ethan's hand on my back, the way his fingers had brushed mine before he let go. It was nothing, and yet, it was everything. I closed my eyes, taking a slow breath, but the moment of solitude did not last. I heard the door open behind me, the faint sound of footsteps approaching. I did not have to turn around to know who it was. "You left the party early," Ethan's voice was quiet, but there was something in his tone, something that made my stomach tighten. "I needed air," I murmured, forcing a small smile as I turned to face him. His eyes studied me carefully, his expression unreadable. "Or maybe you needed space." I let out a soft laugh, trying to ease the sudden tension between us. "Maybe both." He stepped closer, not enough to cross any lines, but enough that I felt it, the shift, the awareness, the same unspoken electricity that had been there on the dance floor now crackled between us in the stillness of the night. "Tell me something, Sophia," he said, tilting his head slightly. "When was the last time you felt truly seen?" His words landed like a quiet ache in my chest. I opened my mouth, ready to brush it off with a joke, but nothing came out, because I did not have an answer. Ethan watched me closely, waiting, but how could I explain something I had barely admitted to myself? How could I explain what it felt like to live in the background of my own life, to be the perfect wife, the perfect hostess, the woman who made sure everything ran smoothly while her husband built an empire, never once questioning if she needed something more? I looked away, staring out at the city lights. "That is a dangerous question." Ethan let out a soft breath, a humorless laugh. "Maybe. But that does not mean it is not worth asking." I turned back to him, my heart pounding harder than it should have been. "This is dangerous, Ethan," I whispered, my voice barely carrying over the night air. His gaze held mine, steady and unwavering. "I know." And yet neither of us moved. I should have stepped back, I should have walked away. Instead, I let the silence stretch between us, thick with everything we were not saying. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, exhaling slowly. "I never wanted to say this, I never wanted to put you in this position." My throat tightened. "Ethan, don't." But he did not stop. "I see you, Sophia. I have always seen you." I inhaled sharply, my body betraying me with the way those words sent a rush of warmth through my chest. "Ethan." He shook his head, his voice quiet but certain. "No. Let me finish." He stepped closer, just enough that I could feel the heat of him. "Do you have any idea how many times I have watched you in a room full of people and wondered if Daniel even realizes how lucky he is? Do you know how many times I have caught myself looking at you and forced myself to look away?" I stared at him, my pulse roaring in my ears. I did not know what to say, because a part of me had felt it too, the way he looked at me when he thought no one was watching, the way he lingered just a second too long when we spoke, the quiet admiration in his eyes when I laughed at something. I had ignored it for years, or maybe, deep down, I had chosen not to see it. "I should walk away," I whispered, but I made no move to leave. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Do you want to?" I swallowed hard, my breath unsteady. That was the problem. I did not know. I should have wanted to. I should have stepped away and pretended this conversation never happened. But I didn't. Ethan took another step forward, his voice barely above a whisper. "I would never do anything to hurt you, Sophia. You know that, don't you?" I nodded slowly, my heart aching in a way I did not understand. I do. He let out a slow breath, his eyes searching mine. Then tell me to walk away. I opened my mouth, but the words did not come. Ethan reached out, the backs of his fingers grazing against mine in the softest of touches. Not a demand, not even a question, just a quiet acknowledgement of everything hanging between us. I shivered, heat pooling low in my stomach. Tell me to walk away, Sophia, he said again, softer this time. And for the first time in years, I did not know what I wanted. A door opened from inside the ballroom, and laughter spilled onto the balcony, shattering the moment between us. I took a sharp step back, breaking the invisible thread that had pulled us together. Ethan's expression shifted, guarded once more. I need to go, I said quickly, my voice uneven. He nodded, but there was something unreadable in his eyes. Good night, Sophia. I turned and walked away, my heart hammering. But as I stepped back inside and saw Daniel still deep in conversation, still completely unaware that anything had happened, I realized something. I had spent so many years choosing what was right. But for the first time in a long time, I was starting to wonder. What if I wanted something else? The night after the gala, I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. Daniel was beside me, already fast asleep, his breathing slow and steady. He had barely spoken to me on the drive home, too caught up in discussing business strategies and upcoming meetings. Not once did he ask if I had a good time, not once did he notice that something had shifted inside me. But Ethan had. I turned onto my side, pulling the blankets tighter around me, but sleep would not come. All I could hear was Ethan's voice whispering in my mind. I see you, Sophia. I have always seen you. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to push the memory away, but it was useless. The way he had looked at me on the balcony, the way his fingers had barely brushed mine, the way he had asked me to tell him to walk away. And the worst part was, I had not been able to say the words, because I had not wanted him to. The next morning, Daniel left early for work as usual, barely kissing my cheek before walking out the door. I stood in the kitchen for a long time, staring at my untouched coffee, my thoughts tangled in ways I could not untangle. I had a routine, a structure. My days were predictable. They were safe. But suddenly, none of it felt like enough. My phone buzzed on the counter, breaking my thoughts. I hesitated before picking it up. Ethan. For a moment, I considered ignoring it. But then I exhaled, swiping to open the message. Morning, Sophia. I hope I am not overstepping, but would you be willing to meet for coffee? I just want to talk. I should have said no, I should have left things alone. Instead, I found myself typing back a simple response. Where? He sent the name of a small cafe on the quieter side of town, not the one he and Daniel usually went to, not the one where people from their company might see us. A safe place, or maybe that was just an illusion. Less than an hour later, I walked into the cafe, my pulse quickening the moment I spotted him sitting at a table near the window. He looked up immediately, standing as I approached. I was not sure what to expect, maybe some leftover tension from the night before, some careful avoidance of what had almost happened. But Ethan just smiled, warm and easy. Thank you for coming, he said as I slid into the seat across from him. I hesitated before responding. I do not know why I am here, Ethan. His expression softened, his eyes holding mine for just a second too long. Because you want to be. My breath caught. I looked down at the table, at the 2 cups of coffee already waiting for us. He had ordered for me, black with just a splash of cream, exactly how I liked it. Daniel never remembered how I took my coffee. Ethan leaned back in his chair, studying me the way he always did, like he was peeling back every guarded layer I had carefully built over the years. I meant what I said last night, Sophia, he murmured. I have spent years watching you fade into the background, and I do not understand how Daniel does not see it. I swallowed hard, my fingers tightening around my cup. It is not that simple, Ethan. I love my husband. I know, he said, his voice gentle. But do you love the way he makes you feel? I opened my mouth, ready to argue, but the words would not come, because the truth was, I did not remember the last time Daniel had made me feel anything. I let out a slow breath. This is dangerous. Ethan nodded. It is. Then why are we here? Because some things are worth the risk. A shiver ran through me, and I hated how much I wanted to believe him. We sat in silence for a long time, the cafe buzzing quietly around us. I should have gotten up and walked away, but I did not. Instead, I let the moment stretch between us, thick with everything we were not saying. Ethan finally sighed, running a hand through his hair. I do not expect anything from you, Sophia. I just needed you to know that you are not invisible. His words made my chest tighten. I looked at him, really looked at him, at the man who had spent years standing beside my husband, never once crossing a line. Until now. And I was the one letting him. I need time, I whispered, barely recognizing my own voice. Ethan nodded, his eyes filled with something I could not quite name. I will wait. My heart pounded as I stood, my hands trembling slightly as I reached for my coat. As I walked toward the door, I could still feel his gaze on me. And the worst part was, I wanted to turn back. 4 days after the coffee meeting with Ethan, I told myself I had made the right choice. I had walked away. I had done what was expected of me. But if that was true, why could I still feel the warmth of his gaze on my skin? Why did his words linger in my mind, echoing in the quiet moments when I was alone? You are not invisible. I tried to push it all away. I buried myself in the routines of my life, morning coffee, grocery shopping, dinner on the table by 7, sitting beside Daniel on the couch as he scrolled through emails. But everything felt different now, or maybe I was just seeing it all clearly for the first time. One evening, Daniel had yet another late meeting. I ate dinner alone, staring at the empty chair across from me. The house was too quiet. Before I could stop myself, I picked up my phone. I hesitated, staring at Ethan's name in my messages. I should not. I should let this go. Instead, my fingers moved on their own. Are you free? The response came almost instantly. For you. Always. My heart pounded as I read the words. 20 minutes later, I was standing outside his apartment. I had never been here before. I had no reason to be. But here I was. I raised my hand to knock, but before I could, the door opened. Ethan stood there, looking at me as if he had been waiting all this time. For a moment, we just stood there, neither of us speaking. Then he stepped aside. Come in, Sophia. I hesitated for only a second. And then, I did. The door closed behind me with a quiet click. The apartment was warm, dimly lit, smelling faintly of whiskey and something deeper, something undeniably him. It was nothing like the home I had built with Daniel, no carefully arranged furniture, no sterile perfection. It felt lived in. It felt real. Ethan watched me carefully as I took a step forward. He did not touch me. He did not say a word. But the air between us crackled with something unspoken, something inevitable. I should not be here, I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. I know, he said. But you are. My pulse was thundering in my ears. Every rational thought screamed at me to turn around and leave before it was too late. But I could not. Because this moment was not just about Ethan. It was about me. 4 years, I had lived inside the boundaries of what was expected of me, the perfect wife, the loyal partner, the steady presence in Daniel's world. But what about what I wanted? What about what I needed? Ethan took a slow step forward, closing the distance between us. His fingers brushed against mine, tentative, questioning. Tell me to stop, Sophia, he murmured. And I will. I swallowed hard, my breath unsteady. I should say it. I should end this before it began. But I did not. Instead, I lifted my gaze to his, and for the first time in years, I let myself feel. I did not stop him when his fingers traced a slow path up my arm. I did not stop him when his hand cupped my face, his thumb brushing over my cheek with aching tenderness. And I did not stop him when he leaned in, his lips hovering just above mine, waiting for permission I was not sure I had the strength to deny. "Sophia," he whispered, my name a quiet plea. I closed my eyes, my heart pounding. And then, I crossed the line. I had imagined guilt would hit me the moment I let Ethan kiss me, that I would pull away in horror, that I would run from his apartment, breathless and ashamed. But that did not happen. Instead, when his lips met mine, a slow, deliberate kiss that sent a deep warmth through my body, I felt something I had not felt in years. Alive. I had spent so long convincing myself that my marriage was enough, that love was not about passion, that desire faded and routine took its place, that being unseen was just part of life. But now, as Ethan pulled me closer, his hands careful, his touch reverent, I realized something. I had been lying to myself. His lips moved against mine, slow and searching, as if he was waiting for me to stop him. But I did not. I could not. "Ethan," I breathed, my fingers tightening against his shirt. He pulled back just enough to search my face, his eyes dark with emotion, with longing. "Tell me what you want, Sophia," he whispered, "and I will give it to you." I opened my mouth, ready to say something, to tell him I wanted this, that I needed this. Then my phone rang. The sound shattered the moment, cutting through the warmth and the haze like a blade. I gasped, stepping back as reality came crashing down around me. Ethan exhaled slowly, watching as I fumbled for my phone, my hands shaking. "Daniel." My stomach twisted painfully. I hesitated for only a second before answering, my voice trembling. "Hello, Sophia." His tone was steady, unreadable. "Where are you?" My breath caught. Daniel never asked where I was. He never noticed when I was gone. I swallowed hard. "I just stepped out for a bit." "Why?" Silence. A long, heavy silence that made my skin prickle. Then he said the words that made my blood turn to ice. "Come home. Now." The call ended before I could say another word. I stood there frozen, the weight of his voice sinking deep into my bones. Ethan stepped forward, his brow furrowed with concern. "Sophia, what is it?" I looked up at him, my pulse racing. "I think he knows." The words felt foreign in my mouth, impossible and terrifying. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Do you want me to come with you?" I shook my head quickly. "No. I just need to go." I turned toward the door, my heart hammering, my hands still trembling. Ethan reached for me, his fingers grazing my wrist. "Sophia." I stopped, my breath catching. For a moment, I wanted to stay. I wanted to let him hold me, to tell me everything would be fine. But I could not. I pulled away and walked out the door. The drive home felt endless. My thoughts raced with every possible scenario. Had Daniel seen something? Had someone told him? Or was it just a feeling, a suspicion creeping into his mind? By the time I pulled into the driveway, my hands were gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles were white. The house was dark except for the soft glow of the kitchen light. I stepped inside, my heartbeat a deafening roar in my ears. Daniel was sitting at the kitchen table, a glass of whiskey in front of him. His suit jacket was draped over the chair, his tie loosened. He did not look at me right away. For a long moment, the only sound was the slow ticking of the clock on the wall. Finally, he spoke. Was it worth it? The question hit me like a slap. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to breathe. "Daniel, He held up a hand, stopping me. "Do not lie to me, Sophia." His voice was calm. Too calm. I felt a sharp, twisting ache in my chest. "How long?" he asked, his eyes still on the glass in front of him. I shook my head, my throat tightening. Nothing happened, Daniel. He let out a low, bitter laugh. Nothing. He finally looked at me then, his gaze sharp and unreadable. You think I do not know the way another man looks at my wife? I stared at him, my breath shallow. Or the way she looks back at him? My lips parted, but I had no defense, no way to spin the truth into something palatable. Because he was right. Daniel exhaled, running a hand over his face. I never thought it would be Ethan. A sharp, painful silence filled the space between us. Then his voice softened, and somehow, that hurt even more. Did you ever stop to think about what I gave up for this life? I blinked, caught off guard. What? Do you think this was easy for me? Building this company, making sure we had everything we needed? I felt a sudden surge of frustration. You did not do that for us, Daniel. You did that for you. He flinched, just slightly, but it was enough. I stepped closer, my voice shaking. When was the last time you really looked at me? When was the last time you cared about anything other than work? His jaw tightened. And that is why you ran to Ethan? I let out a breath, my chest tight with emotion. I did not run to him, Daniel. I was already gone. The words hung between us, raw and final. For the first time that night, I saw something break in his expression. Not anger. Not betrayal. But something quieter. Something deeper. Regret. For a long time, he said nothing. Then, finally, he exhaled. So, what now? I swallowed hard, my throat thick with emotion. I do not know. He nodded slowly, as if he had already expected that answer. Then he stood, grabbing his jacket from the chair. Daniel, where are you going? He did not look back. To give you space to figure it out. And just like that, he was gone. I stood there, frozen, my heart aching in a way I had not expected. I had imagined so many outcomes. A fight. A tearful apology. A desperate attempt to fix what was broken. But I had not expected this. The quiet unraveling of everything we had built. The slow, painful realization that maybe it was already too late. I turned toward the window, staring into the darkness outside. I should have felt relief. I should have felt free. But all I felt was the weight of a choice I could never take back. And I had no idea where to go from here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next story.